welcome back to Heartbeat Narratives. My name is Molly and I'm your host, and I'm so grateful that you are joining me today on Valentine's Day. I know that not everybody loves Valentine's Day, but I did feel a little bit of obligation to put together a mini episode because my podcast is called Heartbeat Narratives. So it felt very aligned to put something out there in the world that is focused on the heart today. So with that, I had a couple ideas that I wanted to bounce around now that we are in the second month of this podcast. I've had a couple takeaways from putting episodes out, the whole process of publishing a podcast, and I just wanted to do a little check-in. To kick it off, I figured that I would start with a heart moment that I've had recently, because I really want everybody to, when you're listening to a podcast and you're hearing people tell stories, my hope is that when you hear other people's stories, that triggers some kind of empathy response within our minds and puts us in a mindset where we're kind of open to the encounters that we have every day. Maybe we have a good conversation with someone at the register of the grocery store, or a different kind of conversation with our neighbor where we're just a little bit more engaged. And to just be more mindful of those interactions that we have and focus on the connection rather than the transaction. I had a really sweet moment about a week and a half ago. I started running recently. It's one of my 2025 goals. And it's definitely a struggle because I live on a hill and I'm not really in running condition. So every little distraction that I can get, I'll take it. I was running around my block. The street that I live on curves slightly. And so I was running down the curve, and in the distance I see a family, and it's pretty early in the morning, and it's a mom with a baby carrier on the front of her body, and then her 2-year-old son. And they're walking across the street to their parked car. I see the little boy look in my direction, and he looks at me from a distance, and then he just stands in the middle of the road, waiting for me to run by. And the mom was like, "Come on, honey, let's go. We gotta get going." And the little boy just kind of stood his ground. And as I got closer to him, we made eye contact. And it was one of those moments where, you know how little kids, when they want to watch something, they just kind of stand there. When they see a dump truck going by or the mailman, the mail delivery truck coming by, they just want to watch and observe. Well, this little boy thought that me running was interesting. And so I was like, okay, what do I do? What do I say? So I ended up putting my arm out and giving him a high five. And we missed each other the first time. And so I had to run backwards a couple feet, put my hand out again, and he gave me another high five that actually worked. And he just seemed so excited about, seeing a stranger. And the mom laughed. And then she's like, "All right, honey, let's go, let's go." So for some reason, that just made me so happy and started my day off really well, to just be acknowledged by a little kid. And so I invite you to be open to those kinds of moments and let them be special, even if they're really small. The second idea that I had was to go through one of my favorite conversational games / icebreakers, and it's called Roses and Thorns. And I've added a third element, which is a rosebud. And so this was something that we did in college when I worked in the residence halls. Our whole staff Every week we would go through our Roses and Thorns. Our roses were the highlights of the week, and our thorns were the not so great things that happened. It really helped us get to know each other on a deeper level and gives a glimpse into, people's daily lives that maybe you wouldn't hear about otherwise unless there was a specific question being asked. So I'm going to go through my rose, my thorn, and my rosebud, or you could just call it a bud. And the rosebud is something that is growing and developing, but it's not in full blossom yet. I thought that this would be relevant and an idea to share, so anyone out there could borrow it and use it in your own life. Some of my friends have renamed this game. You could call it peaks and valleys, humps and bumps, all sorts of things. So take it or leave it, but it definitely can get to the heart of someone's week or day, how they're doing. And I'm usually that annoying person who brings this out during dinner conversations. So I apologize to my friends and family who have to do this regularly with me. But I think deep down some of them really love it. So putting it out in the world. To kick it off, I will just start with my thorn and get it out of the way. And that is the news. It's just been really intense lately. And so my motto has been unsubscribe. I don't know if I need to get breaking news reports like 6 times a day. So I'm trying to be more mindful and just quiet the mind instead of reacting on this roller coaster of emotions. So that's been a good thing to work on. My Rose has been actually publishing this podcast since we kicked it off on January 1st. I feel like this has been so much fun. It's in many ways transformed my social life because I have a reason to talk to people on a deeper level, and I get to set up a time to hang out, have this conversation about something they love, and then treat them to lunch or dinner and just spend quality time with somebody that maybe I know or don't know, but we have that time together to just connect. I'm not necessarily the most extroverted person, but putting this podcast out there is stretching me beyond my comfort zone. For example, I was at a sushi restaurant a few weeks ago, and I missed an opportunity to interview somebody, even though I had my mini microphone with me. This guy was coming around to the restaurants, and he was walking around with a basket of oranges, which I think were from the tree in his yard. And he was waiting in line at the counter of the sushi restaurant, but he kept letting people go in front of him. He waited for everybody to place their orders, and then he went up to the counter and asked the people working if they wanted these oranges or clementines. He gave them a couple of the fruits, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was so nice. He waited for like 5 minutes to just give people something from his yard. And I missed my opportunity to ask him why he did that and maybe interview him. Those are the moments where I get nervous and awkward, and I don't want to be that weirdo who like chases someone down to get an interview. But I feel like that would have been a really good heart moment as well, because he was going out of his normal routine just to share something with other people. It's definitely, this podcast is definitely stretching me beyond my comfort in that I have to start saying yes to those moments when they present themselves. So it's good. It's a practice that I just have to lean into. I remember being a college student, and I would always see my fellow journalism students around campus interviewing people in the quad with their cameras and microphones, and they were more on like the broadcast journalism track. And I would always veer around them because I never wanted to be on camera or be interviewed. But that was how uncomfortable I was with the whole process of putting myself out there. So that is my rose, publishing this podcast. And my bud, my rosebud, is saying yes to new opportunities. And this has recently come in the form of new people and new friendships. In recent months, I've started exchanging contact information with more people and just setting up a time to grab lunch with them and get to know them outside of work, even if we do end up talking about a project or something that we could work on together. This has been really awesome. I'm starting to see the power of what they call weak ties or weak connections, where you're meeting up with someone who you may not have a strong tie to. They're not like in your first circle of the network, but they're in those like outer rings of connection. And saying yes to these types of opportunities has led to all these new kinds of conversations. Maybe a book recommendation or a new restaurant to try, or maybe we go on a hike together and have that shared experience. It's really broadening my worlds in a way that is getting me out of my routine. It's helping me appreciate different people's way of being in the world. And I think it's really helping me become more social. I think a lot of us went through that where we kind of forgot how to be face to face with new people because we were in a COVID bubble with our families or close friends, or all of our work was done remotely through Zoom. So this feels like a good way of easing back into the world within reason, because we all only have so much energy to put outward. But I've been enjoying saying yes to things. This also reminded me of a mentor of mine who would always call or text somebody when he thought of them. Even if they didn't answer or respond right away, he made a point to reach out to people when they crossed his mind. And I felt like that was such a great habit to form. And I've been trying to do that more actively within my own life. Just sending an old friend a text saying, "Hey, I'm thinking about you. I watched this movie recently and I thought you'd really love it." Just those little reminders that I still want to stay connected to you. And I think that that's a practice that can be really fun and super powerful in staying in touch with people. Another idea for thought if you want to get back out there and broaden your day-to-day routine, or just make someone else feel special, to say that you're thinking about them. On a slightly different note, as I'm building out this pipeline of interviews and episodes to publish throughout this spring, I've started thinking of jobs where I would love to interview people who do those jobs and that they're stoked about it. They love what they do. So if you have connections or you are somebody who does one of these jobs and you'd like to talk about it and have some fun stories to share, please reach out to me. I would love to talk with people who are civil servants. Maybe you work in government or some kind of public-facing organization. My goal is to really land an interview with someone at the DMV because I can't imagine that working there is super fun, because you're just dealing with so many people and it's folks who need their car stuff immediately and they may not be in the best mood. But I would love to interview someone at the DMV who just is crazy about their job. They love it. I hope that that unicorn exists out there in the world. I would also love to interview someone who is an accountant and loves math, loves numbers, can nerd out about it all day. And my third dream interview is to talk story with someone who is a bus driver. And I have somebody in mind already, but I'm a little bit too nervous to flag him down. There's this really nice bus driver who has the route on the hill that I live on. And he's so friendly. He waves at me all the time. And I feel like he would be a great interview, but maybe I'll build up the courage. Regardless, if you know somebody who is a bus driver, I want to hear all their stories. Crazy, funny, working with kids, working with visitors, all the things. So those are my dream interviews at this point. If you want to get in touch with me, you can reach me at podcastingforjoy@gmail.com. All words, no numbers. And also on our @HeartbeatNarratives Instagram account. Thank you again for tuning into this mini episode. I hope you have a beautiful day full of heart connections and good conversations. Mahalo for tuning in.